Good evening, everyone. If you could leave your cameras on, I'd appreciate it. Leave your mic muted, but put your cameras on. I love the smiling faces. The feedback is great for presenters. Good evening, everyone. Tonight's presentation is Holiday Gifts for Amateur Radio Operators. My name is Anthony Luscre, Kilo 8 Zulu Tango. And we'll have a number of pictures from different magazines, different sources of holiday activities scattered throughout the presentation today. But to get to all the links, which you're going to need to get to all the gifts, and we'll put suggestions, it's tiny.cc/ARGifts23. There's also some other resources in here that I'll be talking about, and these are the links to those listed on the page here. You can also shoot this QR code. I'll have it at the end handy, and we'll also have a PDF of this presentation on the video, along with the video. So today's presentation is not just for Christmas, but gifts for any holiday or occasion. Not a buying list, more of an idea guide to get you started. It's not meant as an endorsement of any one product, manufacturer, or vendor. These are just some ideas of what you think might be interesting to anyone out there. We're going to talk about gifts by categories: radios, antennas, station accessories, tools, personalized items, memberships and subscriptions, test equipment, miscellaneous, and some things that were just thrown in at the end by various members of the RATPAC Planning Committee. But before we start, I have a little audio treat for you. And I have got to restart my share. I'm sorry about that, but I forgot to check the box. Okay, you would think.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through 2 meters, not a signal was keying up any repeaters. The antennas reached up from the tower quite high to catch the weak signals that bounced from the sky. The children, technicians, took their HTs to bed and dreamed of the day they'd be extras instead. Mom put on her headphones, I plugged in the key, and we tuned 40 meters for that rare ZK3. When the meter was pegged by a signal with power, it smoked a small diode and I swear shook the tower. Mom yanked off her phones and with all she could muster logged a spot of that signal on the DX packet cluster, while I ran to the window and peered up at the sky to see what could generate RF that high. It was way in the distance, but the moon made it gleam. A flying sleigh with an 8-element beam. And a little old driver. It was too far to tell, but he might have been sent by the ARRL. Then I saw it was Santa, the Santa of hams, on a mission this Christmas to clean up the bands. He circled the tower, then stopped in his track, and he slid down the coax right into the shack. While Mom and I hid behind stacks of CQ, this Santa of hamming knew just what to do. He cleared off the shack desk of paper and parts and filled out all my late QSLs for a start. He ran copper braid, took a steel rod, and pounded it into the earth till the station was grounded. He tightened loose fittings, resoldered connections, cranked down modulation, installed lightning protection. He neutralized tubes in my linear amp. Never worked right before, now it works like a champ. A new low-pass filter cleaned up the TV. He corrected the settings in my TNC. He repaired the computer that wouldn't compute, and he backed up the hard drive and got it to boot. Then he reached really deep in the bag that he brought, and he pulled out a big box. A new rig, I thought, a new Kenwood, an ICOM, a Yaesu for me, an Elecraft, Tentec, or Flex, could it be? If he thought I'd been bad, it might be QRP. Yes, the ultimate station. How could I deserve this? Could be all those weekends I worked public service. He hooked it all up, and in record time, quickly worked 100 countries, all down on 160. I should have been happy. It was my call he sent, but the cards and the postage will cost a month's rent. He made final adjustments and left a card by the key to Gary from Santa Claus, 73. Then he grabbed his HT, looked me straight in the eye, punched a code on the pad, and was gone. No goodbye. I ran back to the station, and the pileup was big, but a card from St. Nick would be worth my new rig. Oh, too late, for his final came over the air. It was copied all over. It was heard everywhere. The ham Santa exclaimed what an old ham expects. Merry Christmas to all, and to all, good DX.
So let's talk first about how you make sure you get these items that you find out about. So you need to politely suggest the gifts you want to those people, the significant others who are going to give you the gifts. So you might want to have them watch this presentation. You might want to let your significant other know that ham radio surprise gifts can often be the wrong items. If they insist on surprises, have the significant other talk to a trusted ham friend. Give a list of multiple items to pick from with multiple price levels. Drop unmistakable hints. See later for more information on that. Shop together. Have them email me at k8zt73@gmail.com if they want to bounce ideas off me. I'm more than happy to do that. You don't want the Santa's outhouse Christmas gift. Follow the lead of children around the world. Make a list for Santa. Leave print ads for items you want around the house, but make sure there's no confusion on the desired item. Circle, highlight, etc. Send text or emails of wanted items. You may need to provide possible vendors. Don't use vague or over-technical jargon, i.e. I want an SDR, an HF rig, slugs for my bird, extended rubber duck, or an IC705, because when she looks on the internet to find your IC705, you may end up with a pair of umbrella boots, the IC705. But no, you can point the person in the right direction, send them to the right shop. So send them to DX Engineering, no problem. Oops, it's located in Summit Racing, and they have an IC705. Honey, you said it would be $12.99, but I got it for $6.32. So let's talk about some ideas for items now. Stocking stuffers are always great. Coax connectors, adapters are always something that everyone can use. If you run QRP, double binder post adapter to run your field antennas is fun to use and easy, saves on hauling out coax. SMA adapters, the BNCs or PL259s for using alternative antennas with an HT can give you better results. Good quality electric tape is always good. And if you see this font or this little symbol, that means it's a link you can click on for more information. So this is the type of thing that you'll want to do. The soda antenna winders, the little plastic S carabiners. If you go to Dayton, you'll see me selling these. I have thousands and thousands of the yellow ones I've been selling for a number of years, but they work great for hanging up antennas. They work great for a number of things. Some other stocking stuffers. A digital voice recorder, great for logging context. This is the way I do my logging when I'm operating satellite, because I have one hand holding the antenna, one hand handling the microphone, and one hand tuning the radio. So I don't have a fourth hand available to log, so I simply use the little recorder. A GPS watch with a grid locator is a great thing if you operate POTA or SOTA or any portable operations. You might want to watch with a built-in compass and altimeter. There's also a list of ham apps for phones. There's list 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you can go out there and see a number of different apps for amateur radio use. Some of these are free. Some are just a few dollars. If you operate digital, WSJTX requires a time signal. And a couple years ago, we were camping in Delaware with no internet. So I couldn't change the time signal on my computer. So it got off very quickly, and I wasn't able to do FT8. So I need to drive 5 miles from the campsite to McDonald's, buy a shake in the drive-in, and time sync my computer back up. But having a little GPS dongle for under $13 is an easy way to have a standard time signal no matter where you're at without internet, and you can keep on working WSJTX at your heart's content, but you won't get a milkshake from the drive-thru. Anderson power poles are something I adopted back in the 80s, and people looked at me very weirdly like, what is that? But they've really become the standard for many types of power operations with hams. A number of the power poles themselves, a good set of crimpers, and maybe a distribution box to split out your power. Crimpers are always a good gift. This particular set shown right here crimps a wide variety of items. And using the proper crimper can make the crimpers actually work, the crimp-on connectors. A stocking stuffer might include a Swiss Army knife. Now, I'm going to tell you, probably the most important accessory I find are two things: the Phillips screwdriver and the pliers. So I have two sets of screwdrivers here that have pliers. Unfortunately, this one doesn't have Phillips screwdriver on it, but you get a corkscrew in place of it. But the pliers have been very, very handy for that stubborn bolt on an antenna when I'm out in the field and I don't have a pair of pliers with me. So that's one of the things that I really like, and both of these have sets of pliers on them. By the way, there's also a wire stripper built into the pliers. For a few extra dollars, you can even have it personalized with your name and your call sign. If you're looking for a radio, you first need to decide whether you want a VHF or UHF radio or an HF radio. With VHF, you have a couple of choices, and a UHT, whether it's analog or digital. Make sure the person that you're shopping for you knows what you're looking for. Maybe a mobile, either analog or digital. Or if you're into contesting or FT8 and things of that nature, maybe a multi-mode with single sideband CW and FM. For HF, a 100-watt multi-mode, multi-band radio, maybe a QRP radio, a portable radio, a single band radio, or a kit so you can build your own radio. We'll look at some of those choices, but you need to make a decision on what particular thing you're looking at. So there's a wide variety of HTs available, a wide variety of mobile radios available with very wide price ranges. On HF, these are some current radios that are out there new. You can pick up an ICOM 7300, a very popular radio, or the Yaesu FT991, or the new Yaesu FTDX10, or maybe an Elecraft KX2, or a QCX for portable operation, or a Flex. If you're shopping for a new transceiver, there are a number of resources to help you decide on a model. Ask trusted friends, especially if you can try the rig. Just remember, a grain of salt is necessary because most people that own a rig say that they like the rig. So that's typically the case. You can also check out the eHAM product reviews, the AWR product reviews, and YouTube's videos are often give good reviews of some of the radios. I also have a manufacturer's website list in my spreadsheet, which I'm going to show you in a few seconds here. So there's the spreadsheet is the tiny.cc/byar-ss, and it's a spreadsheet that I put together. It has current and recently available HF radios under $2,000, and there's a link on this tab. It says HF Matrix, shows you some of the features that they have, even has prices, and if it's an older discontinued unit, what the typical used price might be. There's also a tab for mobile VHF, UHF. There's also one for VHF, UHF mobiles. There's also an HF link for older radios, a link with manufacturers, and who sells particular radios. There's also a video on this that you can watch that I've done in the past, and a slideshow. If you're shopping for a new station, you might want to use the little estimator that I have here, because when you start buying a station from scratch, you're going to need things that you don't always realize, like an antenna, maybe a power supply, maybe some coax. So if you're buying a big ticket item, the first thing you're going to need to decide is which route you want to go. Is it VHF, UHF, and then you can break it down to other things to help you make your choice. Or maybe it's choice B, an HF station. And again, there's a number of things you're going to need to decide on. So VHF, HF, VHF, HF. And this is just one of the charts from that slideshow I was showing you. Now, some smaller ticket items, you can still get an HF transceiver, even at a low price if you buy a kit. So I'm going to talk about some kits that are available, such as the QCX or QCX Mini, and some other things. So this is a QCX from QRP Labs. The newest radio they have, though, is the QMX. The QCX is a single band QRP radio. This is a multi-band radio, either 80, 60, 40, 30, or 20, or 20, 17, 15, 12, or 10, depending on which model you want to buy. $95 is a kit, or built for $145. The case is an extra $20. So if you want it all built and ready to go, $165 out the door for a multi-band CW and digital station. It does not currently do single sideband, although there's plans to add that in the future. But for right now, it'll do FT8 FT4, RTTY, and CW on multiple bands. It includes a CW decoder, a network interface so you can interface the radio to your computer to operate the digital modes. And there's a whole video on it here. This is the link out to the site. Oh, what's going on here? Got something wrong in the link. I'll fix that. But this is the QMX right here, and you can see the information on it. The person that puts these together, Hans, lives in Turkey, so that does take a little bit of shipping time. So if you want this for the holidays, you're going to need to jump on it quick. There's also an open source HFQRP digital mode kit. This is the RF Bit Banger Solstice Special. It's a powerful new keyboard mode on a low power, high frequency digital radio. It's a kit. The surface mount parts come pre-mounted, as they also do on the QRP Labs radio. You need to do the through the hole parts and the toroids. It's got built-in digital modes, CW, RTTY, SCAMP, FKS, and OOK with multiple speeds. It's got key jack support, straight keys or iambic paddles. It uses open source hardware and open source firmware, so new things can be developed for it all the time. It's Arduino Uno compatible, and it's a great experimental rig. Here's a picture of it, and you can go out to the site for more information by clicking on the link. That'll take you out to the Open Resource Institute's campaign, and you can see that there's 43 days left to buy this particular radio, and you can pick one up for $150. This radio, you have a choice of a kit, or you can buy it built also. $96 is a kit, $144 assembled. It's called the True SDRX or TR Micro SDRX, depending on how you want to pronounce it. It's based on the QRP Labs QCX, which is a CW only radio, but DL2 MAN and a PA, I can't remember the other ham's call sign, took that kit from Hans and developed it into a single sideband NCW radio. Now, there's many clones of this on eBay, but none of those clones are fully supported like this radio is. So if you're interested in one of these, I would suggest you stay away from the UDXs you find on eBay and go to the True UDX. You can see with this finger on here how small it is. I have one right. Oh, it's not here. I thought it was right here next to me, but it's not. But it's smaller than your hand. It's got a built-in microphone. It covers multiple bands, 80, 60, 40, 30, and 20. There's also a high band version of it, but it's harder to come by. It does single sideband CW. With data modes, you're going to need an interface of some sort, but it will do data, and I'll show you an interface for it in a few seconds here. It's got a USB interface with CAT capability and programming capability. It puts out 5 watts with 13.8 volts, or you can feed it through the CAT port with the USB and get 0.5 watts with a 5-watt power supply. So one of those little phone power banks for charging your phone will power this radio and put out 0.5 watts. It's got a built-in CW decoder, built-in microphone, onboard SWR bridge, and voltage current measurement. And a lousy speaker, so I like it better with headphones. This is a video of it. Let's go ahead and play this video real quick.
Das habe ich gar nicht mitbekommen. Alfred, ich geb's mal zu dir. Bitte schön, die Gruppe Der lachte Mix.
Hi and welcome back to another Tech Minds video. So this product is not a clone. The True SDX is a QRP 5-watt, 5-band, multi-mode transceiver that will literally fit in the back pocket. Now this has been designed by Manuel, Delta Lima 2, Mike Alpha November, and Guido Papa Echo 1, November Zebra. Now, you may come across all types of USDX clones on various websites. However, the True SDX has been designed in such a way that you will only ever have the original item. If you're using the USB for power, then you should expect a power output of around 500 milliwatts. To access the menu system, just press the menu button once. You can now use the rotary control to cycle through each of the menu settings to change.
And I'll let you watch the rest of the video on your own. So maybe you're not interested in the whole rig, but you want to improve the rig you have now. So if you have an HT, these are a number of ways to increase your signal, either an extendable, foldable, or extendable, foldable antenna, which will give you much better performance than your HT antenna. And you can click on these links for each of these different ones. I'm using one of these. I like it a lot. If you even want to get a better signal yet, get an antenna outside. Very inexpensive. These are only $125 to $150 price range, maybe a little bit more for some of them. This will greatly improve your signal if you can get your signal outside for VHF and UHF. And these are all multi-bands. Some are tri-bands, some are double bands, and some are quad bands. Maybe you want to specialize the antenna to get on satellites. There's two very popular pre-built antennas, the Arrow 2. You can get this in two versions. One collapses in the middle to make it easier to carry around. The other one has a continuous boom on it, or the Elk antenna. Both of these are dual band 2-meter 440 satellite antennas. Or maybe you like to operate portable. You might want to extend an end-fed half-wave dipole or a long wire, an extendable whip, a collapsible support like this gentleman here is holding from Soda. And I have a whole presentation on portable operations and portable antennas. You can click on either of these links for much more information on a variety of things for portable operation. Now, Dennis W6DQ still regrets the fact that he can't go out and buy one of these because he wants the Telex Christmas tree antenna. So he insisted that I put it in the list because that's what he wants for Christmas every year. Maybe some station accessories, a new computer dedicated to your Radio Shack to run ham radio software, radio control, logging, digital modes, etc. might be a great thing to do. Or maybe you already have one. By adding a second monitor, you can see all those special fields when you're logging program with the multipliers, and a second monitor is great when you're operating digital modes also. Or maybe a new software program. Maybe a new keyboard. I like having a lit keyboard. You can check out a number of different keyboards. I have one right now in front of me. I'm using this particular keyboard, the HVKB395L, and I'm pretty hard on keyboards because I use them a lot. So this keyboard's held up pretty well. I did have to tear apart a couple keys and clean it out. You can also go with Stream Deck or Genovation things to control multiple things in your shack or multiple things with your radio. These are accessory you can buy for a lot of the newer radios, the ICOM 7300, the Yaesu FT-DX10, the Yaesu FT991. They all use these little pads, and basically these pads are a series of resistors. So when you push the button, it provides a resistor at this pin for your radio, and that does things like trigger a memory or change frequency or change modes or change bands. You can put these together, but you can actually buy very inexpensive ones on eBay for doing this type of thing. So if you need a quick stock and stuff for under $15, you can find them out there for a variety of radios. I have one sitting right here for my Yaesu, and you can see this just a little keypad. Let me see if I can get that to show up on this camera. There it is. It was like $12.50. Took 3 months to get here, but maybe you want to have a remote control station. Well, having a remote power supply that you can turn everything on or off is a great way in case of a failure or a problem. If you're a CW operator, I don't need to tell you about the fascination with keys. And you can start off with just a few dollars and spend thousands of dollars depending on what you want. But there's a whole variety of things out there, everywhere from these 3D printed under $50 things to $1,000 type of custom built keys. So there's more information on the CW resources page, on the Morris Key Manufacturers page. And there used to be Christmas keys. They no longer make them, but they're still floating around out there, and you can still pick these up on the used market. Morris Express made these for a number of years. I think the last one they made was 2015. They made a different one every year. Maybe you want a keyer to work with your new key or your new paddles. I really like this key. It's based on the K3NG Arduino code. Anthony Good put this code together a number of years ago, and people have used it a lot in building their own keyers. It has a lot of features with it. This particular one is pre-built. It's $75. It not only has all the function of the K3NG, but it also has the ability to do CW decode on the window. You have 4 memories here. It also can emulate WinKeyer if you need to use that. You can also plug a USB keyboard directly into it and type and get Morse code, as I just clicked on the desk here. If you're interested in learning Morse code, the Morse Reno, it's about this big. I'll show you how big it is. You won't be able to see it very well, but this is the Morse Reno. It is a trainer that can train, but it also can be used as a keyer. And you can actually, even if you have 2 of them, send signals between the 2. It'll also connect to the internet, and you can have internet-based CW conversations while you're learning. Comes with capacitive touch paddles. It's got a little LCD display here. A station clock is always a good thing to have. Just be aware that if you're looking for atomic clocks, make sure it supports UTC time zone. A lot of them only support the 6 time zones around the US, starting with Atlantic time and going out to Pacific time, out to the Pacific Ocean times. So make sure that if you want it to operate as an atomic clock, you need to have that right time zone capability. Now, Dan, this is what Dan wants. It's actually in here twice because Dan wants it so much. This is his gift idea. So if anyone's shopping for Dan, the Geocon Digital Atlas Digital Atlas version 2 4K version uses a 4K TV as a display. It gives you the gray zone. It also has a number of possible amateur radio overlays. You can have prefixes, etc., overlaid on top of this. If you're looking for portable operation ideas, portable operations require batteries. And batteries are something that I talk a lot about in my portable operations presentation. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, take a look at this presentation. Here's an example of 2 of the things in there. These may not be available because this slide was put together 2 years ago, and these change all the time. But these are the so-called solar generators. They don't really generate anything. They're designed to be hooked up to a solar panel and store the energy from the solar panel, but you can also charge them from the wall. But basically, they're a battery with a charge controller and a number of different outputs at different voltages. Some of them also have an AC inverter to operate 110 AC stuff on. There's a number of them out there. What I would suggest, though, is when you're shopping, make sure it has a lithium ferric phosphate battery in them. That is the minority of the batteries in them, but those batteries have a lot better recharge cycle and capability. So find one with a lithium ferric phosphate battery. If it doesn't say that, it's not that. It's probably just probably a lithium ion battery. Another neat little device is something that looks very much similar to a phone power bank, but these are what are called power delivery banks, or PD. So they use a USB-C cable, and then the device tells it how much current and voltage to put out. Now, if your device doesn't have that capability, which most amateur radios don't, you can buy an adapter like this. It's a USB-C, and it's got the built-in circuitry to tell it to put out 12 volts. And this happens to plug perfectly into an Elecraft K3, KX3, KX2, etc. So if you have a radio like that, or the ICOM 705, these kind of things can work very well, and you need to get an adapter though so that it puts out the right amount of voltage. And here's just an example of one of them. Power cables and supplies. One of my favorite things is having a silver Sharpie. A silver Sharpie lets me write on all those black things that you can't write on with the regular markers, such as power supplies for each of your laptops, the charger for each of your HTs. They always get mixed up and lost. You can put a sticker on them, but sometimes the stickers peel off. But I find a silver or bronze color or gold color Sharpie that will let you write on black can be invaluable. These are neat little things. They're little Velcro that you write on one side, then you can Velcro them over your cable, and they hang on there to mark it. And then the P-Touch label markers are great for different things. I often put across the back edge of my rig on the top of it labels of what each of the connectors are on the back, so I can reach around and know what I'm reaching around to. Maybe you want to have an SDR radio. An SDR receiver is very inexpensive. You can either use it alone or you can add it to your other radio and provide a band map spectrum display with it. Now, I wish you had a super contest station. Well, K3LR station is about 50 miles from me, and he's consistently number 1 or 2 in the world in his category. And I could never have a station like his, but I can have the same exact chair he has. So I'm sitting in one of the chairs just like he has at his station. And it cost me less than $100 at Costco. Or try your favorite furniture chair and find a chair that you're comfortable in, because BIC, but in the chair time, is the most important thing to be able to be a successful amateur radio operator. Maybe you need some tools. I find these little precision screwdriver kits that are available at that H store, that Harbor Freight, can be invaluable for use. This particular kit here has a bit that can open up almost any reversed, threaded, weird shaped. You can tear apart any restroom wall with this, or any radio that might have security bits on it. Nut drivers are fun, handy to have. 2 years ago, I made my mother's Christmas a big success by buying her a set of side cutters. Now, she doesn't use them for radio work, but she does a lot of crafts with wires, and she was using an old pair that were so dull they couldn't cut through the wire. So when I got there, she was just shocked by the fact. A automatic wire stripper is a great thing to have, or maybe you like to go this route. Once I've used one of these, I prefer this. Or maybe you like to go the dinosaur route, as my kids used to call them when they were around. They thought this looked like Tyrannosaurus Rex. You can also get coax tools, kits to put on coax connectors. A good soldering station, one that's a temperature controlled. You may even want one that has an air rework station with a hot air gun for surface mount parts. Magnifying tools can be very helpful. Or instead of going the magnifying route, you can go the camera route. With a magnifier built in, these can either have their own display on them, or they can be attached to an inexpensive computer that you're not using, or even a tablet in some cases. I also purchased one that wasn't a magnifying device, but it was an endoscope, so I can slide it into things very inexpensively. That was the Christmas gift I gave to a number of my relatives this year, and they were very excited. Maybe personalized QSL cards. If you haven't gotten a new card in a while, you might want to think about a nice, colorful card. This is my newest card that I have. This is the Scenic Railroad I work on. You may also want to consider some business card sized cards for eyeball contacts. Or maybe some personalized ham apparel, a name badge. I happen to be wearing one of mine right now that I got made up, a hat, license plates, etc. Or maybe a wooden plaque or an LCD lit, I'm going to forget the material, plastic, let's just say that, lucite. And I have one of these on the shack, and you can see behind me, just to my left here, you can see my KZT on the wall there. Maybe a membership or a subscription to a wide variety of different organizations such as the ARRL, Radio Amateurs of Canada if you're in Canada, or RSGB, even if you're not there. Specialty club memberships such as QRP, ARCI, GQRP Club, AMSAT, Long Island CW Club. These are all clubs that the cost is very inexpensive, but it can make a great gift. Or maybe a service such as QRZ. They have the full capability of using all the extra services on QRZ. Or a donation to Club Blog. Even if it doesn't cost anything to use it, but you can give them a nice donation for all the services they provide, or a magazine subscription. Some more test equipment. A digital multimeter is very important for most hams. There's a whole variety of prices, and I got a link here. It's an introduction to buying a multimeter. SWR power meter can be very useful for the shack. If you're into some more test equipment, a vector A nano vector network analyzer can be used to check out antennas, feed lines, filter circuits, components, etc. So there's a video here from the Smoking Ape on which nano VNA to buy. You can pick these up for between $50 and $150. There's two different sizes of screens that influences the cost, but they're pretty inexpensive. This is a neat little device that lets you plug in a component and it'll try and identify that component and measure the characteristics. It measures inductance, capacitance, resistance, and reactance. It can identify transistors, diodes, FETs, etc. And there's a number of these out there. They're in the $10 to $20 price range, and there's a reviews and tests link here for more information on these. Maybe a book. And there's a number of books out there. And a lot of people's first idea is the handbook, but I actually like the operating manual a lot, and I like the antenna manual a lot. By the way, the Ham Radio for Dummies is not a dumb book. It's done by Ward Silver, who's an excellent author, and it's got a lot of great material for any amateur radio operator in there, but it's a great gift for a new ham. Another great gift for a new ham would be the Amateur Radio's Contesting for Beginners. The Complete DXer, I think, might be out of print now, but it's a great introduction to DXing. The Fred Cady series of books, unfortunately, Fred passed away a few years ago, but Elecraft still sells them. If you have an Elecraft user that you're buying a gift for, the Fred Cady books can be an invaluable resource. Maybe you're interested in doing some other projects to go along with your amateur radio. So Arduino Projects for Amateur Radio by Jack Perdeman and Dennis Kidder is a great idea. And Dennis is also one of the RATPAC planning committee members. Or the Software Defined Radio for the T41 by again, Jack and Albert. Maybe some miscellaneous maps. And I have a whole presentation I did a couple weeks ago on maps and charts for amateur radio. This is some miscellaneous QSL aids. What I do is I scan my good-looking and exciting QSLs, and then I have them available to show on my website. I also can have them available on the third monitor in here. I can run a slideshow when I'm not really using my station, when people are visiting the house, so I can show off a bunch more QSL cards than I can put on the wall. You might also want QSL sleeves, those things that let you hang 20 QSLs on the wall, or you might want QSL collection books. Here's an example of the sleeves. This particular thing, if you find one of these, let me know where you found it, because I bought this years ago to Hamfest and I've never been able to find another one again. It has the typical sleeves that hold 20 cards, but it lets you put them on both sides, and then it has these metal rods so you can swing the cards out. So it actually lets you display 400 cards on it. And you can see that behind me in my picture. Maybe you want to spend your money for ham travel. Maybe you got too much stuff in the shack already, so think about an activity as opposed to an item for the holidays. A trip to the Dayton Hamvention, there's going to be cost involved. The cost for the mission is probably minor, but then the hotels, the travel, etc. So this would be a great gift to give someone or help out with either the Dayton Hamvention, the Hamcation in Orlando, or any of the other large Hamfests, such as the one down in Huntsville, Alabama. Maybe an add-on such as Contest University. If you're already going to the Hamfest, spend an extra day down and go to Contest University, or if you're in the QRP, 4 days in May. Those both take place on the Thursday before the Dayton Hamvention. Take a ham radio trip, maybe a DX or a multiplier vacation. It can be something simple. Don't forget about U.S., Puerto Rico, and Virgin Islands. Don't require any passport, but they're good places to operate, and people want to operate there. Or an IOTA, Islands on the Air Expedition. Some of the rare VE provinces are always in demand, especially during the AWL sweepstakes, or go up to Zone 2 in Quebec during the CQ Worldwide. You'll be very popular. Just make sure you don't need to get back here if you get snowed in. Or maybe you want to be a rover in a county, in a state QSO party that's not your state, so travel there and set up and operate for a weekend. Or a staycation, rent airtime on a remote station and operate from home. Or take a trip to Connecticut, to Newington, and get a chance to operate W1AW from the Hiram Percy Maxim Memorial Station at the AWL headquarters. My wife Linda and I combine field day with a short vacation each year and travel to a rare section, even though they're not multipliers in the field day. We often combine it with my love of trains. So we have a whole presentation, and you can read the slideshow or you can watch the video, both Linda and I presenting on our Mixing Amateur Radio field day and trains together. Maybe you'd like to help out a budding potential ham with some gift ideas. These are all gift ideas for youth or someone just starting out. A crystal radio, either something you put together yourself or a commercial kit that you might buy. And you can find some information here on the Midnight Science Books Crystal Set Society. Simple electronic kits you can buy on eBay for under $2. Here's 4 tips for kids on how to build electronics. You can go out to this link for information on that. And it talks about working with electronic kits with kids. The $2 clothespin Morris key. This was very popular. Every time I use it at a school, we just had it out at a Boy Scout event. It's a block of wood, a clothespin, some brass tacks, a battery, and a buzzer. And it makes a great project for under $2 for a Morse code key. Walkie-talkie FRS HTs. Buy something that's made for the family service and they don't need a license, but they can still get a radio. Something that's completely free is the Long Island CW's kids Morse code classes, but you can help them out by giving them a code oscillator and a key to work on their CW skills. Or maybe an Arduino or microprocessor kit with tons of projects that they can build, and a great way to get someone an introduction to electronics. Books for kids and youngsters. There's a number of them. The Adelace series from Amelia Calandrelli. I'm sorry. And the Electronics for Kids series by Dahl, I think is his last name. He's from he's from Scandinavia. Electronics for Kids. So there's a number of things. Oh, and for free, the Zach and Max comic books, I have links to those, and I got to fix that link because that link is bad. I'll fix that link on my website. They're available. Or maybe a tech license manual. Here's some additional ideas for kids. You can go to this link, tiny.cc/YRI, or you can scan this QR code and get more information on gift ideas specifically for youngsters, involving them in amateur radio or electronics or science. But more important than the gifts you give them is if you can spend some quality time with them. Teach them how to solder simple kits, how to do electricity, magnetics, microprocessors experiments. Teach them how to tune in stations using your radio, and give them the capability of tuning in online SDRs wherever they're at by going to this simple set of instructions and showing them how to use these online software-defined radios. If the person doesn't live near you, consider doing Zoom meetings or Google Meet so you can do remote time with your youth that you're interested in. The next thing is consider giving back gifts to the ham community. Consider donating unused equipment to your local radio club or school club to be used by new hams or resold to fund club projects. Sponsor a young ham's visit to Contest University, a DX convention, or a DXpedition. Support online ham services like Clublog with a donation. Serve your local club as an officer. Do presentations for local clubs. Write a newsletter article. Cost you nothing, but it's a great gift to the fellow members of your club. So now some things from some of our committee members. This is from N6VI, Marty. Marty says, if you do any climbing, you need to have quality body harness and dual fall arrest lanyards. You need both of these to be safe on the tower. Don't go on your tower without them. And if it's an old one sitting in the garage that you don't know what the condition of it is, don't use it. A canvas bag for tower and antenna work can be very handy. RF chokes. You can buy them pre-made, or you can buy Type 31 ferrite cores and make them yourselves. These can be very helpful at taming stray RF in the shack. Comfortable headphones or headsets. Your family will appreciate these too. My wife loves the fact that I use headsets almost all the time. If you're using a headset for phone, you're probably going to want a foot switch to go with it. There's some very well-known foot switches out there that I find very inconvenient to use because they require too much pressure. So I prefer ones that have a very light touch. And there's a number of things out there. This particular one is actually designed for a switch for a tattoo machine. Very inexpensive, very, very light touch, and you can actually even use it as a hand keyer if you want to. So this is my field day and portable operations headset. It's very small, it's very rugged, and it doesn't take much pressure. If you're doing an SRO2 or other thing that you might want two pedals with, you can buy dual foot pedals. This is the Pine Seal, a smart mini portable soldering iron that has a logic circuit built into it. You power it with USB. It does require a high amperage USB, 3 amps, but it powers from a USB-C, or you can power it with a traditional type of plug-in connector. Here's the Geocon again, because Dan wanted it in there. Maybe a digital sound card mode for the radio that doesn't have a built-in sound card. These are two that you might not have seen before, and I'm featuring these and one other one because they're very inexpensive and they're very tiny. This is about as big as my thumb, the DigiRig Mobile. There's a couple versions, both RS2 and non-RS232. So when you go to the website, they also have matching cables for another number of rigs. This is one called the HF DigiBox. And again, you can buy this for different rigs, or you can buy it with just cables that you connect yourself. So $34 to $45, not very expensive, very small, compact, and easy to use. This is a third one, and this one's interesting because look what it plugs right into. It plugs into the true SDRX. So this is what the board looks like, but it plugs right into the side of it. If you wanted to do rig control, also you need to run a cable over to the USB connector on this side and then plug it in here. But $16 for this. Now, what's on your list that I missed? I'll give you a chance to share your wish list, items that you've been glad to receive or been glad to give with the group. So when we do Q&A, be thinking of some things you might want to share with the group. And if it's something you have a link to, make sure you have that link so you can put it in the chat for us. So I'll give you all a chance to do this in a few seconds. Again, this is the link. This is not the link to this. The link is at the beginning, so I'll go back to that link. This is the old link. And by the way, if you'd like to give a gift to your local club, I'd be happy to do a presentation for free for them via Zoom. If you have a local club, I have over 40 presentations available. I'd be happy to do one. I did one this afternoon. Dennis and I did one for a club in the UK. I did one for my local club, and then I ran here and did this one. So if you'd like a presentation, I'm working on Present All States, and I'd love to have your club to do a presentation for. So let me go back to the beginning, and I'll leave this on the screen, and I'll take questions and answers, and I'll let you shoot the QR code if you want to get quick access to this. But what we'll do is we'll open it up now for questions. And I'll leave that on the screen for a few minutes here. So we have everything in chat, Dan?
Must be helpful if I am muted there. No, we don't. Well, we got stuff, but no questions.
Okay, very good. So either if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or if you have suggestions for gifts that you've received or you think would be great for someone to receive, either put them in the chat or raise your hand. We'd be happy to hear them.
Great.
Or if you have any questions about any of the equipment I showed in the slideshow today.
Great list. As always, you do a good research on this stuff.
And I always, the bad thing about doing this though is I always end up ordering something.
Yes, I've already got a list right here.
I'm ordering one of those little true SDX sound cards.
Oh, okay. John, you got your hand up there, VA3DPZ. Go ahead and take it.
Thank you very much. First off, I want to credit you on the wonderful information you've presented. All through this, I was thinking, how do you get so many thoughts? Like seriously, one man does not get all these thoughts. Where do you get all your ideas from?
This is just something that just grows all the time on me. I'm always producing content. I just love to produce content. So I'm always thinking of my next slideshow or my next plan. Sometimes I don't get my inspiration is Dan calling me and say we need a presentation in 2 hours. But sometimes I think about these when I'm in the shower, driving somewhere. I come up with ideas. So I'm always coming up with new presentations. Matter of fact, or reworking old presentations. This is a rework of a presentation we've been doing yearly, but we also rework other presentations. So we did a series for the RATPAC. Dennis W6DQ and I did a series on beginners HF. There's 4 videos out there you can watch, and we were contacted by someone in the UK that was interested in the series, so we redesigned it as the UK version, and we just did the 4th version of that for them today. So just something I enjoy doing.
Well, that's the most impressive. And I have to tip my hat to yourself, Anthony, and to Dan and everybody else involved, because I've been listening to these presentations since my summer up here in Northern Ontario started. Just gave me time during the time while I was cutting the lawn, over an hour of cutting lawn, perfect time to listen to this. So put the earbuds in and cut away with pleasure. So lots of great information. Now I've got one question.
Yes.
That Pencil Smart mini portable soldering iron that you mentioned.
Yes.
What kind of price are you looking at that, US wise, obviously?
It's not real expensive. Let me bring it up here real quick. It's easier if I get out of the slideshow and jump down to it. If I remember, it's like $45 or $65, but let me double check here. $25. It's on sale. It's on sale for $25.99. It was $35.99 originally. It's on sale for $25.99.
Wow. And is that with a vendor who charges shipping or not? Because I did have a note here when you were talking at one point, and I was thinking, if you don't mention it, I've got to talk about a small soldering iron. I myself purchased the similar soldering iron where you could plug it onto a battery for portable usage.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the Tango Sierra 101 soldering iron.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like everybody does, it's the simple purchase of Amazon, where if you're a Prime member, you get free delivery. It was $109 Canadian. So I'm going to guess that to be $65, $75 without doing the proper conversions for a US. So your $25 is a steal of a deal.
Okay, I can't get this. Oh, there we go. So it's $11.99 for regular, standard, or $24. So this the special shipping, the courier shipping method is $24. It's probably much quicker, but $11.99 for shipping must be from outside the US if they're saying courier service. So looks like $11.99 for standard shipping.
Okay. Well, I thank you for taking the time to chat with me for a bit, and I'll let you carry on. I'll let you carry on. Thank you so much. 7-3.
Okay. Next question, comment, suggestion, complaint. Dan gets all complaints, by the way.
I get my share, but I also get a lot of praise for what you guys do.
So, Dave has something here. He has the flat USB, a gaming monitor, portable monitor. And I have one similar to this. Mine's not quite this fancy, but the nice thing about it is if you're a person that has to go out and work at meetings and work with other people, and you have your laptop and you don't have a place to project, having a second monitor that you can plug into your USB port can be a great device to be able to show the audience while you're typing. So if you're doing a small meeting with 4 or 5, maybe a club meeting or something like that, having a USB monitor, and I picked mine up very inexpensively. So there's some out there that aren't quite as fancy as this, but having an external monitor can be really nice. And he uses his for his K4D. So his Elecraft K4D, I'll take that as a gift, but that's a little bit above the price range of what we're looking at for this presentation. Other comments, questions?
Answers.
Yes. Suggestions.
Suggestions or answers?
It's my birthday on Friday, so I'll take birthday suggestions too.
All right. Okay, I don't see hands. I don't see. Okay, Dave sits up and this is okay. You answered that. You're just moving right along there, Anthony. This is unusual.
I know it's not an hour yet. I'm gonna feel bad if I don't. I told you I wanted to start another presentation at this so I can do 4 tonight.
Okay.
My wife might have other thoughts on that though. This is by far one of my favorite gifts to give out to people that are just starting out because it has Torex blades, it has regular and Phillips in a different variety of sizes, and you can tear apart a lot of things with it. So this is the kind of thing I get from my grandchildren, my nieces and nephews. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention it, but some of you might be looking for something that is no longer available as a new item. So you might be looking in the used market. And I didn't really mention that, but if you do have something like that, suggest it to someone, but find someone that can help them buy it so they're not totally frustrated trying to track down something that's not available through current retail sources.
Okay,
Well,
we got Gene, take it away.
Yeah, hopefully y'all can hear me. This is Gene.
yes.
Into the XUS. Question I have is setting up a ham shack when it comes to an appropriate desk, a hutch-like type of thing with shelving. What's the best way to shop for something like that? Either
Well-
something that's already been constructed, or if you have the skill set to construct it yourself from,
Well, I'll tell you what
you buy from the big store and hardware.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I like. I like something that fits in a corner. So if you can see behind me and here, my shack, it's actually a corner and this extends out both ways. So if I move let me get rid of myself here. There's my shack. You can see that the main thing in the middle of my shack is my monitor for my shack computer. Then off to the right, because I'm right-handed, is my main radio, my K3X. I have my secondary radio on my left here. So I can operate either of these radios very easily, but the focus is on my eyes the most time is on the monitor. So I have that centered. I also have a desktop, so I have plenty of room in front of the radio so I can lay my arm on the table so my arm doesn't get tired when I'm tuning. So having enough depth on the table is very important. If the table is too shallow, your arms are going to not be able to lay on the table. Also, if you're going to do CW, you're going to want to be able to have your arm on the table. So this type of L type of situation works well.
Can you bring that full screen?
I'm sorry?
Can you bring it full screen?
Let me see here. I think I can. Dan can. Dan, focus on my screen. Can you highlight me?
Well, okay. Yeah,
Is it not highlighted?
no, it is. You are highlighted now.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I got to stop sharing. That's what I got to do. There we go. Are you seeing it full size now, Gene?
Okay, yes, that's very impressive. Now, was that ready-made and you built?
Yes, it
add-ons
was.
to
Well, it was ready made, but it only went out this far. I added on another leg on this side here, so it extends out further. And you can't see that, but there's more stuff over here this way. And it had a keyboard drawer, which I've still used, but I put a piece of plywood on the keyboard drawer and made it so that my mouse is actually over here to the right now. So I have more mouse space on there. These shelves right here were just simply cheap shelves from Walmart or somewhere that I put on there. This is something I make quite often. I always watch when people are discarding pre-made furniture in the neighborhood because it always breaks. So they're always throwing it out. So what I do is I scavenge things like tabletops and sides, and then I build these little risers to put over top of things. So this is an old tabletop with 2 side pieces on it that fit right over top of this radio. It's open on the back, so I can and might get to the back of the equipment on it.
Now, how difficult was it to do cable management for that?
Well, it's not real easy because it's too close to the wall. If I had more room, I'd have more space behind it. So I have to sort of crawl and reach behind when I'm working on that. But it's not too bad. But it's the one thing it's hard to do because this is all here in the corner. It's hard to reach up here to like work on a map or something because you got to reach out over. So I got to use a step ladder and get up high enough so when I'm reaching out over, I'm not tipping something over and falling on the table. It doesn't get moved very often. Like every couple of years, I move things out and completely clean behind it. But this is my shack. But the one thing I can really strongly recommend is no matter what you do, make sure you have enough depth on your table. Make sure you have a comfortable chair and make sure you have plenty of room for your legs underneath it. I see people that use like hutches and things where there's no place for their legs to go, and that's problematic. It's not very comfortable to do that. So you can do a search, just take a look at some of the office furniture and see what's out there and see what looks good. But just make sure it has enough depth to it.
Okay, that looks really, really impressive, and you give me some ideas to put on an existing desk, that, if you want to call it that I have. And I'm thinking about trying to do something with just getting an old door, take off the hardware, and a couple of small metal filing cabinets.
That works fine.
And
as long as they're wide enough.
That.
Yeah, as long as you have enough depth on the doors, that's fine.
Right. All right. Well, thanks a lot for the information, and that's a very impressive shack. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You gotta, whoops, I'm muted. Nope, I'm not muted. You gotta watch out for the rabbit hole. What happens, you buy the space for all your equipment, but you don't have the equipment to fill the space. So next comes buying the equipment to fill the space. And then pretty soon you got a shack that looks like Anthony's, and it's beautiful, but it wasn't what you started out thinking it was going to be like.
Yeah. And the whole, as you lay it out, try and put the things that are going to require your vision right in front of you and put them at the right height. Don't put your monitor up too high. That's a common mistake that a lot of people make. So don't put your monitor up too high. Keep your main radios within arm reach without having to reach to them, and don't have to reach up. You don't want to have to reach up to the radio, because when you're tuning a radio up here, now, things like amplifiers, power supplies, you didn't see a power supply at all because my power supplies are actually on shelves under my desk, because there's no reason I need to have my power supply where I can see it, because I just turn it on and it just stays on and it doesn't do anything. So again, things like that can be very helpful. And I talk a little bit about that in the setting up a station, and in the HF series, we talked a little bit about shack ergonomics. Other questions?
Yeah, I might comment that when you're putting your radio, keep in mind, you like to not have to duck down or, have the radio panel where it's easily seen from wherever you're sitting. Tilt it up or wherever you got to do, but make sure you're looking straight at it, not having to find a different body position just to see what your frequency your radio's on.
I used to do computer consulting, and I would go to a lot of people's homes and help them set up their computers and stuff. And I got so tired of people that would have their computer on a table that didn't have any place to put their legs underneath it. They'd have it on a hutch, they'd have it on a countertop, they'd have it somewhere where you had nowhere to put your legs. And then they would be using an old metal folding chair that was like absolutely horrible to sit on. And so having a good chair is also very helpful. And that chair I showed you in there works out very well, but any chair that you find comfortable and has good support is very helpful also. Other questions, comments?
Back in my field day services of home style computers, the worst one I ran into was U.S. Forces, U.S. Air Force. They had put in this computer into what used to be an elevator. It was still an elevator, but they weren't. And the reason why they did that is because they were dealing with secret material, and they were afraid that it had to be, all sealed. So they were using that as a Faraday deal around it. But there was no ventilation in there, and the computer was just, and they kept having problems with this computer, and they would have to bring everybody out and all this stuff so I could go and take a look at. It was really, really hot. And I says, your problem isn't the computer, it's the environment. And they had a hard time with that, because they really, I said, then instantly, put in an air conditioner. Well, outside area. And yeah, that's what it takes. anyway, it's a mindset. You get an idea of what it's supposed to be, and it's almost like a religion. You're not going to change it easily, but unless it just isn't going to work. Of course, that was the case there. I had to stop going out there because I was nothing I could do to fix them. I don't know what they did to fix it. I'm sure they moved it out of the elevator.
Any other questions? We made it past the hour, so I didn't disappoint Dan because he would have been really disappointed if I wouldn't have had 1 hour or more.
Or more. That's usually the case.
We did squeeze it that one night. We did squeeze it out to I think an hour and 25 minutes. I think that's the longest you've ever let me go before you pulled the plug.
It's hard to stop you because you're just so full of good information and you present well. Anytime we have a presentation like that, I hate to shut them off, especially if we've still got questions out there, people want to know more from them. It's awful hard to pull the plug early. What really bothers me, and it's okay, it's just that it makes me want to close it off. But when it becomes general conversation, now we're not talking about the subject anymore, we're talking about something else. I'm saying, I want to get this out anyway.
Well, so if you have any other questions, we need them right now, or Dan's going to shut this all down.
Great job. Thanks a lot for the information and the ideas.
Oh, you're very welcome. And if I don't present before then, have a happy holiday. You start off with Thanksgiving and enjoy all the holidays. Get on the air.
Same to you. Be safe.
73, everyone.
One last thing I might say here. I leave this setup going for tomorrow too. So after we close out the night or tomorrow morning, if you want, just check back in like you go into the RATPAC presentations, click on that link and you'll find probably nobody there. But if you want to have a chat like Gene was referring to earlier for working on some problems, or just want to have a eyeball QSO on Zoom, go back in there. It's just sitting there ready to be used.